customer has a secondary from the hot water side. The supply line for the shower valve needed a T, and the T comes off of the bottom. I'm going to show you on the other side because it's still opened up. And the T it turns and then goes up through the back of the wall. You'll see it in a minute. And it goes up, and there is the copper pipe, and it goes that direction. And there's a tank that's going to be down at the end, and that tank facilitates getting hot water from here right away. So you don't have to wait 5 minutes for it to warm up. And since my customer did it, I'm going to let him explain it because I can't wrap my brain around it. So, Leonard, would you like to explain this this very, very cool idea that you have, which you know that it works, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, so what we have is the hot water coming up from the slab, and then this goes into our rough of the valve right here. But since this is the farthest point in the house, I have a T going up into the attic, and that's going to be our home run, essentially. I'm going to connect a pipe from there all the way to the water heater. But at the water heater, there's going to be a recirculation pump. Now, normally what happens is if you don't have a home run, people will connect the hot and the cold water together and have a thermostat valve in there so then they can recirculate hot water to get instant on hot water at that location. So what this does is not recirculate the cold water, the hot water through the cold water, which means that in different parts of the house, as that hot water is returning, you turn on the cold water and it'll be lukewarm or whatever. So this is a dedicated home run to the recirculation pump that's located at the hot water. There's a couple of things that we can do to either automatically turn it on and off. So you can have a temperature sensor at the recirc pump, so when the incoming water is below a certain temperature, it turns on. You can also put a temperature sensor here to make sure that it's at its required temperature here as well. But the easiest thing is just to have all the electronics together at the hot water pump, and then that pump is co-located with the water heater.
So where does this pipe that we sweated in and go through the attic, it's going to go eventually to a tank first, or it goes to the water heater first?
Well, the tank is in this situation, I have a small tank. It is a water heater, and there'll be a recirculation pump there. It only needs to be about 10 gallons, and then what feeds it is hot water from a different water heater, and it's going to be a tankless water heater. So I just have an auxiliary tank, and at that smaller auxiliary tank, that's about 15 gallon tank or 20 gallon tank, there'll be a recirculation pump there.
So there's only two inlets at this recirculating pump that you're talking about, right? There are inlet for the water heater, the main water heater of the house, and then the inlet for this pipe. There's only two inlets?
There'll be what you end up doing is putting a check valve in there. So you'll have a T, a check valve from the cold water coming in into the cold water inlet from the tank. That's actually going to be from the main water heater, and then another check valve from here. So when you're not drawing water and the recirculation pump is running, that check valve is going to open, let whatever water that's in there recirculate in the pipe, thus heating it up
immediately.
Well, to get the pipes up to temperature, it does take a few minutes, but when you turn on the faucet, you have instant hot water at all the locations, since this is the farthest one.
So because this is the first, so basically that solves a problem with the other two bathrooms. It solves a problem with the kitchen, and everywhere else you have hot water.
That's correct.
Wow.
So the home run should always come from the furthest place in the hot water loop. You're creating a loop, the furthest place from the water heater, you want to feed that back, and then that loop will circulate hot water. And you can set these pumps on to either turn on every few minutes or turn on at 6 a.m. or whatever. You can have it automatic. If you want to make it smart, you can have a temperature sensor that will sense the temperature and turn it on during a certain time. These pumps generate just a small differential pressure, just enough to circulate the thing. When I say the thing, circulate the water through the pipes.
So this is a master bathroom, and so I thought in my mind that this thing that you're talking about, this recirculating pump, would only apply. I didn't know it was for the whole house. So now the whole house, no matter where you're at in the house, if you have a water, you have a tap that you call for hot water. It's going to affect everything.
That's correct. That's only if and only because the water heater that is attached to the circulating pump is before all the other bathrooms.
Gotcha.
So the loop only includes that section where the water heater is connected to. So if it's connected to the kitchen, the guest bath, and this is the master bath, which is the farthest, then those three will be in the loop, and those three will get instant on hot water. I do have a secondary guest bathroom that will not be in the loop because it's in a different leg of the heat pipe, the hot water pipe that's in this house.
So assuming that this wasn't the furthest, say you went to the other end of the house and you went up and you put one of those pumps here, it would still affect this one, but at a slower rate.
So let's say in the loop, it hits the kitchen, the guest bath, and then this master bedroom. Now, if I put the tank such that it's after the kitchen but before the guest bath, and that's what makes the loop up, then the guest bath and this one here would be in the loop. It would warm up the water in the hot water pipe, and then only those two would have instant on.
And this one would not be affected at all?
This one would have hot water. Now, if I put this feedback, this home run at a different location, let's say at the guest bath, and I said, well, the run between the guest bath to here, it's only like 20 feet or something like that. Let's pretend that's the case. But it's easier to put the home run at the guest bath. Then the guest bath hot water would home run to the water heater. The recirculation pump would be there. That whole loop, let's say the kitchen, the guest bath, and the water heater would be the loop and would have hot water circulating at a very low rate through that. And then whenever you turn on the hot water for the master, you have to wait that for the water to evacuate through that 20 feet or so, whatever the distance is, to here. So there would be some delay, but not much. So you can play games on where you put these things and if it's convenient to put it there. In this case, we're doing a remodel here by Star Tile. And this happens to also be the furthest place in the house for the hot water line. So sending that water back to the hot water heater. We're going to have a small recirculation pump, which introduces a differential in pressure, which causes the water to circulate in a circle in the loop. And then this will have instant hot water at this location whenever I turn it on, whenever that circulating pump is running. And I can program that to turn off at a certain time, turn on at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. or whatever. Some people have smart versions of that can, some people have cell phone connected things. Oh, I want to have hot water or whatever. But the simplest one is probably you just have it automatically turn on every 15 minutes, have it circulating, and then you have hot water or lukewarm water depending on where you go.
So let's talk about this for a minute, because that ties into my question about you don't have a water heater tank. You have a tankless water heater, basically on-demand water heater. And was it your impression that that would have solved the hot water problem, the on-demand water? Is the tankless the same as the tank insofar as getting hot water where you want it?
Well, when I moved here, the house already had a tankless gas water heater, and one problem with at least the one that I have is you have to have some water flow for it to sense that hot water is needed, and then it turns on. It starts a burner, so it has to, heat up the water that's in the burner, which happens pretty much immediately. Then it has to flow through whatever pipes to get to whichever bathroom you're in. So,
So it's not beneficial. If somebody was contemplating getting an on-demand tankless water heater, they're not going to get immediate hot water.
depends on how far it has to travel, but there is always a small time lag between hot water coming out of the tankless and when you turn it on. So usually it's not very much, but in the case where you have a recirculating pump, some tankless systems, let's say the gas-fired ones, you have to have a certain flow rate and things like that. So what I'm doing is I have a small, let's say 10 or 15 gallon auxiliary tank that is fed from the tankless system, and that has just an electric element in there that keeps it at a certain temperature. Let's say I like my water to be 110 degrees, so maybe it's 110, 115 in the tank. The recirculating pump will take that hot water that's in that 15 gallon tank and recirculate it in here, and then as I go take a shower, that 10 gallons is gone in just a few minutes or whatever. But since that tank, auxiliary tank, is fairly close to the gas tankless system, the tankless system turns on, it has enough time, and as long as that 10 gallons doesn't run out, the let's say infinite tankless system from the gas fired one will fill that with hot temperature water. In general, if you want no temperature sag, you'd have that slightly warmer than like what you like it. So let's say 115, and you expect the temperature coming out of here at 110 or something like that.
Cool. So you literally and figuratively close the loop. You're good to go when this thing gets installed, right?
That's correct.
All right. Good to go. Yeah, nice. So if anybody wants to know, and you have a shower that's being renovated and it's the furthest shower away from your water heater, then you might want to consider that. I have a little bit of take on it, but I can't wrap my brain around it until I see it. Like I have to have schematic drawing, picture, or something like that. But anyway, for whatever it's worth.
We can provide links.